depleting their energy, but I know Dubale is going to keep us awake. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tazarra. So I'll be very brief. So I am going to share two good practices on coordination, cooperation, and capacity building, so that we can learn. And as well, I will also present going ahead what is just the idea that USAID with a dream GIZ. What does he? Slide ish. Yeah, so going forward, as well, we have been discussing while with the Ministry of Peace, GIZ as well, with this dream conference, how we can contribute better for improving coordination, collaboration in practice. So I will end up with that one. So next slide, please. Just to bring to your attention, in terms of resources, there are lots of huge resources going to the pastoral areas. Just, if you can see the report from the UNDP 2019, they have done, resource mapping. Just, I want to bring this to your attention. The issue is not the resource issue. Yesterday, some people were raising that one. Huge resources going into the pastoral areas. The case for the Somali region, what they have done mapped is for the fiscal year 2015-16, 2017-18, 2.7 to 2.8 billion, not birr, dollar, was allocated and implemented. And 57% of that one is from the development assistance and humanitarian assistance from external sources, and 43% is from the government. And similarly, 2018-2019, the figure is around 1.2. This is for 1 year, 1.2 billion USD. 59% is domestic, from the government side, 41. And despite all this investment in those years, you can see, the productive safety net beneficiaries, Somali region, 1.6, almost 1.6 million people. In Afar, over 500,000. So, and even just inserted there, if we go to the Oromia as well, SNPR and Afar would have got similar numbers, but UNDP have done the assessment for these regions. Despite all these resources, with the current single shock, what happened to Somali region and Oromia now and SNPR, it's a serious devastating disaster. So we have done some resource mapping when we have done, when we initiated this, focusing on improving coordination and cooperation within USAID. 2017, we tasked Tufts University to do assessment, and their finding was, in terms of resources, we are good getting resources to the pastoral areas. But we are not good, we are not going in the same pace, improving coordination, collaboration, and capacity building, so that we can get the money, the result from the money. So that was, and then by then, Tufts University itself was coordinating the USAID projects in the lowland areas. For Afar, they established a steering committee, secretarial service provided by Tufts University, the leadership from the regional government. But that was not sustainable. While the project was active, it worked. And right after the project ended, some people maybe they know the PLI project, and Tufts took the coordination part. But after that project ended, nothing continued. So we sat down and we need to re-engineer and change that approach. And during the prime time, most of the coordination was within the project. Next slide, please. So what we learned during that time as well from the prime is, when we have good coordination and comprehensive interventions are reaching to individual households. We may have several interventions in a given location. That is, we call it exposure. They may be exposed to different activities, but unless those households benefit and participate in different interventions, this is a key finding we have got, which really give a direction for us to focus more for USAID, for coordination, and particularly for cooperation. For us, it is, we call it integration, but for the same, to be on the same page for cooperation. So households who participated and benefited comprehensive programming under Prime, I think most of the people, you know Prime. So who participated in livestock production and marketing, who involved as well participatory rangeland management, and also who get access to financial services, and as well as who benefited from the early warning system in climate change adaptation. They were the one during 2015, 16, 17 drought, they were able to maintain their food security. This is a panel map data done by Tango International. They've done their baseline during 2013, 2014, 15. There was a recurrent monitoring system every year. And 2017, they have done the final end line. So this is well documented. We can share this one, the link, and we can use it. So this is the final result they have got, and it was big guiding direction for USAID programming. And we wanted also to share to development partners and the government as well to follow. For us, you know, what we usually focus about is equity, distribution of different benefits. But it will be spilled over, and people are not going to be resilient unless they have comprehensive interventions. And we thought that what is going to happen if, on top of natural resource management, financial service, climate change adaptation, these people intentionally get education service, wash service, additional activities as well. So the result would have been good. So those households who were exposed but hasn't participated in the different interventions, their food security was declining by 30%. But the other ones even maintained and improved. The other key lesson we have also learned is from productive safety net and community-based health insurance. Is there anyone who knows about community-based health insurance? Do we have it in the lowland? Eh? Do we have? Yes? No? Yes? South Omo, you have it, I think. There was no actual intentional targeting in the lowland, maybe in the south and part of Oromia. This is a figure from the highland, where productive safety net beneficiaries unintentionally benefited as well from community-based health insurance. Their food security was maintained during the drought, particularly for vulnerable households. So, starting from the new USAID reiteration of the pastoral flagship program, Resilience in Pastoral Areas, we started now moving from the project approach into programming. Beyond even livelihood, we need to get cooperation with the health activity, education activity, democracy and governance. Unless peace and stability is there, even the results are not going to be maintained. So that is the way forward. Next slide, please. The other good practice that we want to share with you is when the government take the appropriate leadership in terms of implementing interventions, and development partners play their role as well in terms of technical capacity building, the results are good. This is the lesson, comparative kind of observation we made during 2020 flood as well as the 2021 flood in the Afar region. Ben can explain more on this one, Ben Arwin from CARE. This is implemented by his team from CARE Ethiopia. So what we observed is during 2020, of course, they developed joint flood response plan by the region. Similarly, 2021 as well, they developed the joint flood response plan. But because there was no appropriate institution providing the technical support to implement as well as monitor the implementation of the flood plan, the integrated flood plan, the result was not good. But during 2021, Prime, RIPA, as well as other development partners, they supported the implementation of that joint plan through facilitation technical support. So only 600 households were displaced during the 2021 flood, while it was during 2020, 24,000 people. It looks like a small case, but unless we build on the practical experiences, we are not going to reach anywhere. We can talk about coordination, partnership, collaboration, but unless we build on these practices, we are not going to achieve. So 78% of why this is successful, 78% of the resources, as I said, is not an issue always, came from the government side. In terms of early warning information, through radio, communities were aware. They know in advance what they are supposed to do, and government as well pre-positioned what is required rather than being in a panic right in the middle of the problem, like boats and other support materials, and the information was available to the communities. Communities were empowered in advance what to do before the problem, so they were empowered as well. And I think it is also very critical when we want to implement integrated program or any initiative to identify champions who took in our idea and also include with their own local knowledge and take the leadership. For this one as well, the project was active enough to identify those champions at the regional level, at the Warada level, from the community, to work with them so that it was successful as well. And not only the formal communication, Afar, they have the Dagu system. Information was moving through the Dagu, the local radio, through local language as well. Technical advisories were disseminated. Using community action groups, information was disseminated. So that's why it was also very successful. And development partners share responsibilities, not to duplicate. So RIPA was taking responsibility as a development partner, so they were providing simple logistics and daily subsistence allowance and information sharing. That's why it was successful. Next, please. So the other lesson we learned is when we say coordination, government is not expected always to do the coordination. If we have the enabling environment at the Warada level, even private sector can be engaged. This is a good experience we learned from Prime, even PLI time. Now we are scaling up during our recent current activity. During emergency, if we provide very smart subsidies for the livestock traders, they will be motivated to go and destock animals. That was a good experience. So the idea, from the government side, is creating enabling environment, maybe also better access for finance and for animal health service, private vet pharmacies, community animal health workers can engage. And similarly as well, during drought, so not only the government can provide inputs, but if we provide smart subsidy and stimulus package for small and medium enterprise, they can also do supplies in terms of key commodities to the community. So the key role should be convening and creating that enabling environment. From the government side, coordination will go relatively better. Next slide, please. Gosh, next slide. Yeah. So, so now why coordination now? Kana, Dr. Kana presented earlier. As I said also in the beginning, huge resources because of the understanding of the need for the development of the lowland areas. Huge resources coming, 451 million USD for 6 years in the lowlands. It's huge. When I see the breakdown of the interventions, 200-something million USD for natural resource management. But now we are getting dry hay, which is useless for livestock, transporting from Sabbata the whole way to Borana. So with all these resources, but because we are not coordinated, we're not using the technical capacity of universities, research academic institutions in the local area, we are now, losing a lot. So why now? Because there are lots of resources coming. We can't, repeat the same mistake. USAID and the EU project, the GIZ programs, mention it, the World Bank, the IGAD, other programs as well. Huge resources coming. And the other good thing is, why now? Because now at least we have good guideline, good policy in place at the national level. We have the National Pastoral Development Policy. I see, my good friend who has been a champion and the leader of this one. Had it not been for him, for Shanko, we didn't have this policy in place. So let's clap for him and for his ministry. Now that responsibility has moved to the Ministry of Irrigation and Lowlands. at least, as a at national level now, we have a clear vision for the lowlands. It's not like previously to settle all pastoralists and then become farmers. Now livelihood-based, mobility-based livelihood is one of the strategy accepted for the lowlands. Those people who are not interested to continue on pastoralism and who can do farming, they can also do irrigation-based agro-pastoral intervention, but now mobility is recognized, pastoralism is recognized as a way of life as well. Now we have that national policy, vision, and clear strategy so that we can work together, development programs and humanitarian assistance programs together. The other thing is the civil society charity of the government, which promotes as well public-private partnership. Private institutions can be taken into as part of partners. They can contribute. So we have now more enabling environment for public-private partnership. So that is, and the other one is recently myself, Shanko and Tazarra, who have been very supportive for the policy establishment, Ministry of Industry and Ministry of Irrigation and Lowland, they wanted to reactivate the National Core Advisory Team to help the implementation of the national policy, which is really good. So we need to mobilize the universities, academic institutions, research, and other development partners so we can engage. So now we have a lot of enabling environment so we can utilize and tap into these potentials. Next slide, please. So way forward. I think, the regional presentations earlier from the Afar, Somalia, and Oromia, they have done, before I was presenting this one, they came into consensus, unless we have a clear, common goal, we are not going to reach anywhere. So to have a proper result and resilient communities who are not going to be affected by a single shock and become, dependent of humanitarian assistance and food aid, as development partners, we need to have a common goal. So far, we have been celebrating our own individual results, but hereafter, it's not going to be, attribution, my own, organization. We need to work collectively and contribute to the resilience of these communities. So there is a good model which has been tested elsewhere. So I think we can adapt that one to our own context and we can build, and that is the plan now. We are going to support the Ministry of Irrigation and Lowland with a dream as well. So based on the National Pastoral Development Policy, we can craft, based on the region specific, as well as we go down to the Warada level, we need to have common goal, where we want to reach. Unless we know where we are going, we don't know when we reach there even. So we need to have a common goal for these areas. For the Afar, it may be different. For SNEPA, it can be different. For Somali region, based on the regional context, but there should be, as a development partners, I think government will work with us, lead us, and we'll have common goal for the region. That can be taken a lot. Huge work has been done from the national policy. And the other thing as well, and even with this mind map, I was also involved. There are lots of coordinations going on, but we are not measuring the results of those coordinations because we don't have common goal and we don't have agreed measurement system, which jointly we are going to celebrate success. So collectively for the region, and particularly I will come later on to the Warada level, we need to have a common goal and a measurement system. What communities, what local communities will say success should be defined. And then everybody will be contributing. It's not celebrating my own results. Because so far we have been celebrating our own reports and results, but the communities are in serious challenge whenever there is a single shock. This is really embarrassing. I want to say, maybe most of you know Dr. Brahanu Admasu. He has been very instrumental in teaching this in the universities as well as part of the Taft University. Now we called him recently when the Ministry of Agriculture called us to coordinate his emergency response, hearing hay being transported from the highland to the lowland, Dubale, I'm no more coming to that meeting. Because we know what we are supposed to do, but we are not doing it. There is huge lack of commitment from the government side, really. We need to embrace that one and include that commitment and have good leadership so that we can achieve results. Otherwise, we'll be repeating our own mistakes. And the other intervention, hold on. So shared measurement system, and the other one is complementary, self-reinforcing interventions. Not only livelihood in one area, wash supply in another area, water supply, livelihood support, natural resource management, health, education. We need to have comprehensive. So self-reinforcing interventions are required. For that, we need to develop joint work plan. And the other one is, everybody was saying we need to have a platform. That communication platform is very important. We need to be committed for that. But the key thing is, that we have learned so far is, we need to have a very strong backbone support organization, which will take the responsibility to call people for meeting. I think from DREAM, particularly on the communication side, we are good. DREAM is contributing a lot for the communication. We are coming together every 2 years, or because of the COVID now we're lagging. We have that one, but going forward, the government should be on the leading position and facilitating leading, but as development partners, we can provide the technical support. So that unless we have this in practice at the federal, region, and Warada level, we are not going to reach anywhere. Just last point, with the Ministry of Peace, we have been discussing with Professor Dagafa. He has been the key person then. Now it is moved to the Ministry of Irrigation and Lowlands. With Dr. Andreas, we started the discussion. So DREAM and USAID and other development partners, we are going to support them to at least pilot this, at least 10 or 12 waradas with the integrated plan and the MNE system, communication, and practicing this collective impact model. So we started the engagement. We may have a workshop for the design of coordination project. So let me stop it here. Tazara is standing, so.
Thank you, Dubale, for your inspiring and interesting presentation on your resilience program. We wish we'll see just all these results in the